Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea.
Presented by Still a Frog.
Flat broke doesn't just happen in country songs. Poor isn't just a word. And poverty has actual consequences that were, in fact, part of the reality I'd run up against following a microscopic divorce settlement, a second-shift job at a door parts factory, and an ex-husband more interested in buying his new wife's children the latest LeBrons, as opposed to investing in, food, shelter, and far more basic clothing for the ones he'd sired me. Once he'd taken up with Little Miss Trophy Wife, Little Miss I require weekly pedicures and a sky's the limit balance on my Nordstrom card, my children faded into oblivion. They became non-entities, except when he graced them with his presence every other weekend, assuming he didn't cancel. I felt bad for my babies. I felt their pain, not just from a money perspective, or rather from a lack of money perspective, but because I'd saddled them with a cardboard figure of a father. Okay, so they wouldn't technically be here had it not been for his 60-second sperm donation, and trust me, I'm being generous here. But still, how do you turn your back on your own kids like that to play house with someone else's? I'd done all I could. The twins shared a room in what was the dictionary definition of humble abode, and for them, upscale clothing meant Walmart. Divorce had drained me. No, let me rephrase. Divorce had picked me up by my ankles, slammed me into the ground repeatedly, then tossed me into the ditch as the vultures circled overhead. And that's a pretty accurate visual. I was gutted. Heart, soul, body, mind, and spirit. Which is why he surprised me so much. He worked at the same plant I did. It started with a shy hello, segued into a, would you like half of my chicken Caesar wrap, then blossomed into, how about we hit happy hour? He just became that unexpected, joyful element in the otherwise indescribable monotony that was my life. My officer and a gentleman fantasies ran amok. I never expected to fall in like with him, much less love. But there it was. It came softly at first and then escalated into goosebumps and fanfare, skipped heartbeats and swoons. It was so nice to touch someone again, and not just sexually, though that was incredible, but more so even the after part, where we lie in bed, him on his back, me with my arm draped across his chest, the quiet of who we were together in this glorious haze post-lovemaking. I felt safe there. The money problems magically dissolved, and given my situation, that in and of itself was a miracle. On the weekends, he captained a small fishing boat charter. We lived near a few fairly large lakes, and he was as skilled an angler as you could find northwest of the ocean. He had the knack, even more so, he had the passion. I suppose a weekend on the water seemed paradise when juxtaposed with a week spent hoisting boxes in a windowless warehouse. He dedicated his life to making that boat perfect. It wasn't the largest, but it was certainly well equipped. Fish finders, trolling motors, downriggers, I'd become pretty well versed in the lingo of the lake. Given the off chance he didn't have a charter booked, he'd take me out, and it was incredible. Just feeling the wind against my skin, especially when he really opened her up. And then, of course, getting to spend the afternoon with him. I'd pack lunches, bring a 6-pack or bottle of wine. A couple of times I even splurged and mixed up some margaritas. He focused on the fishing. I simply enjoyed the sun, water, and him. He'd just dropped me off following a 5-hour boating excursion, just the two of us, during which he'd scored a 15-pound landlocked salmon, and a little something else as well. The boys were with my parents, enjoying a day out at the water park, when my cell buzzed, and somehow I knew. I just had this neck hair standing up sensation that my bliss was about to be cruelly snuffed out. "How are the boys?" he asked, disinterestedly. "Fine, and how is Trixie?" I snarked. "You mean Candy?" he corrected, his irritation obvious. "Yeah, whatever," I smirked, pleased that I'd annoyed him. I knew it was some sort of stripper name. "She's fine," he continued. "I'm calling for 3 reasons." My ex-husband spoke in list speak. "1," he droned officiously, "I received a bill for vaccinations. You were supposed to submit this to the insurance company. Please do so." 2, I saw the boys' report cards online yesterday. Matthew really needs to work on bringing that science grade up. Please address that with him. And 3, Hayden, his new adopted son with Bambi, is going to a sleepaway summer camp. Apparently there's a discount if more than one family member attends. Please ask the boys if they'd like to go. Really? Okay, sure, I said, very nearly dumbstruck by the invitation. A glorious day on the water with the man of my dreams and an invitation from my empty vessel of an ex to send my sons to what appeared to be a really exciting getaway. I felt like I'd just won the damn lotto. That night I showed the boys the link. They were beyond thrilled. Mountaineering, whitewater rafting, archery, sleeping in authentic timber frame cabins. It was a true paradise for miniature macho males in the making. Not to mention it was a chance for them to escape from our tightly crammed quarters for at least a couple of weeks. I couldn't believe he was actually doing this. That damn son of a bitch, good-for-nothing bastard. I want to see him burn in hell. No, that's too good for him. I want to see him staked out naked in the wilderness waiting for the wolves to come and devour him. Calm down. Breathe. My boyfriend was frantically trying to fan the flames of my rage. What happened? He invites my boys to go to this amazing camp, every kid's fantasy land, right? Makes it sound like this all-expense-paid, once-in-a-lifetime adventure. And then what does he say? He never intended to pay. He just thought if we both sent our kids, he'd take advantage of the discount. Are you kidding me, you scumbag? $4,000. That's what it would cost to send the twins. Does it look like I have $4,000 just sitting around? And to top it off, I go ahead and get them all excited for something that they never imagined in a million years they'd be able to do, and now I have to be the one to shatter that dream. I swear to God, if I ever do get an extra $4,000, I'm going to use it to hire a hitman. I had no clue how I was going to break this to the boys. All night long, I heard whispering and laughter coming from their bedroom. Honestly, I'd never seen them this happy. Matthew had even started packing a bag for a trip that was a month away. I wept inconsolably, bawled my eyes out. My boyfriend just held me close and rocked me back and forth. "It'll be okay," he murmured. "It'll be okay." But I didn't see how that could possibly be. My ex had decided to break their hearts, and I was going to take the blame. The next day I kept putting it off. I couldn't face them. I just didn't have the ability to look them in the eyes and take this away. Why did I have to teach my 12-year-olds how unfair life could be? They got to spend the summer in the backyard with a hose and a dollar store super soaker, while the Haydens of the world got to attend this spectacular camp, courtesy of Brandy's abiding interest in financial statements and her acquired skill at fellatio. I went to get the mail, still plotting to buy some more time. Maybe I'd won the clearinghouse sweepstakes. Maybe some long-lost rich old aunt had just died. Maybe there was an envelope with a bunch of $100 bills in there. What the hell? I looked around as though suddenly someone was going to pop up and yell, "Surprise!" or perhaps flash a badge, weapons drawn, cuffs at the ready, and say you have the right to remain silent. I didn't understand. Who could have... Unless you count Daddy Dearest, no one I knew had any money of which to speak. But he wouldn't have, would he? It was the only conclusion I could come to. Although, why put cash in my mailbox? Some grand gesture, I suppose. I didn't care. My boys were going to go on the vacation of their lives. "Thank you," I texted, through unbelievably grateful tears. "This means more than you know." I was ecstatic. I couldn't sit still. I had to drive, somewhere, anywhere. He could be at the marina this morning. He didn't have a charter, but he said he needed to clean up the Kingfisher, the name he'd proudly given his boat. When I got there, he was working. There was a thick envelope sitting on top of the tarp. Chase Bank? What was he doing with Chase Bank? "Hey, babe, what's this?" I held up the packet. He walked over to me, looking pretty serious, for him anyway, especially whenever he was this close to water. "I took out a loan against the boat." "What do you mean a loan? For what?" And then it hit me. I understood. Oh my God, it was you. But why would you... I was stunned. I was suddenly pummeled with the reality of what had just happened. I fell into his arms that I now knew would always have my back. "It's not that big a deal," he whispered. "And besides, you're worth it."
Ribbit.